So this recipe that I'm doing is taken from Fourme of Cury, which was written around 1390. And what I find very interesting about it is that it seems to be influenced by Italian cookery. There are other Italian recipes in this English collection, such as lasagna, tortelletti, pappardelle, and a kind of macaroni as well. But this chickpea dish also seems to be influenced by Italian cuisine. In fact, there is an Italian cookery book from the same period, from the 14th century, that has a very similar recipe. Now, as you can see here, I've got the chickpeas that I soaked overnight in the fridge. They've at least doubled in size, probably tripled in size. And these are going to be rinsed off now, and then I'm going to split them into two, because I'm experimenting, and I'm going to smoke one half, and the other half are going to be smoked later after they've been cooked. So let me go ahead and give these a drain. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm going to smoke them, it's because the original recipe, the Middle English recipe, it says that the chickpeas should be placed in embers or in ashes, either for the whole night or for the whole day. Now, this would have been done instead of soaking them, I think. That's my theory. What I thought about this is that it must have imparted some kind of smoky flavour to the chickpeas, so that's why I'm going to do it this way. Anyway, what I'm doing here then is I'm going to smoke these in... I've decided to go with apple wood. Now, this is a smoker I bought quite recently, and I've smoked some things in it already. I've not used apple wood yet, but I thought we'll give that a go. There were apple trees in medieval England, so we'll see what apple wood is like. And then I'm going to put the tray in, which I've actually lined the that part of the tray with foil, so that I can at least attempt to hold some of these chickpeas in place. So they're going to go on here. So that I'm going to roll these out, and I'm going to pop this onto my hob, because this is a hob, a stove, a smoker. I'm going to smoke them, I think, for half an hour. Because they've not been cooked, I think they'll need to be smoked longer than the ones that I cook later on. So let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, the smoke's coming through now, so I'm going to close this, and this is going to be smoked on a medium heat for half an hour. Right, I've smoked my chickpeas. Let's see what they're like. Oh gosh. I think that's smoked them, hasn't it? Right, I've got to get those now into my pan, and I'm going to boil these as well. I'm not going to boil them as long, because I think the smoking process will have at least partly cooked the chickpeas. Let's see how I can get these into this pan now. Ah! Escaping chickpeas. This is a fiddly job, as you can see. As you can see, most of my chickpeas are going in the pan, but a few are escaping. These are the bits that don't show you on cookery programmes on telly. Yes! What we got there? Gosh, they smell quite smoky. I'm not sure I really know what I'm doing here, but it is an experiment. So these are going to get covered in water and cooked as the other ones have been cooked, but I don't know how long for. So I'm going to just cook them initially for half an hour, I think, and see whether that works, because I imagine these are quite soft already. Are they soft, cameraman?
They're sort of. They're edible.
Okay. Right, we're going to boil these anyway.
You use them straight as they are, and you make falafel.
So you're saying I don't need to boil them then?
No, I'm not saying you don't need to boil them, but they're quite edible the way they are.
Over here I've got the other chickpeas, the other half, and they've been put into water, and once that comes to the boil, I'm going to cook them simmering for probably around about an hour. They are relatively small chickpeas, so they may not take that long, and chickpeas do vary. Leaving them uncovered because that should help the chickpeas to keep their shape. I don't want these to go all soft and crumbly. I want them to keep the shape because I think that's really what is being aimed for in the original recipe. So I've brought the chickpeas to the boil and I'm just going to get them to simmer now, and I'll check them in about 45 minutes. I think they'll probably take about an hour because they're quite small, and also I did soak them for rather a long time. I say overnight, but I actually put them in at 6 o'clock in the evening and didn't take them out till about 11 o'clock. So they've had about 16 hours of soaking. 17 hours of soaking, my math doesn't work. The other chickpeas cooked quicker than I thought they would. They only took 35 minutes. As you can see, they're not massive chickpeas, and because they were soaking for so long, I think that's why they've cooked. I don't want to overcook them, otherwise they'll just be too mushy. So these are now going to be smoked. I don't know whether it will make any difference. The cameraman thinks that the ones that are smoked after they've been cooked will taste smokier than the ones that have been smoked and are boiling away. He's probably right, but we'll see. Okay, we'll get the lid on. So I put these on to smoke again. I actually haven't changed the wood chips because those wood chips can smoke up to an hour and a half. So it was only smoking for about half an hour. So I think they should be good enough to do this second lot as well. And once the smoke starts coming through, I'll close that. It's taking its time. I'm just wondering if there's going to be any smoke. Maybe I haven't lost it all. That is coming. You can see it. It's not as red as before. Smoke. I think I'm only going to smoke these for 15 minutes. What do you reckon?
Well, if we've got less smoke, then
We'll see if the smoke starts to come through. There is smoke. Okay, so we're back at the smoker. I'm going to have a look now at the chickpeas that have been smoked. Lid off. Interesting. Right, what we've got here then are these chickpeas that were cooked first and then smoked. Let's see if they've taken on much flavour.
nope. Should have put new chips in.
So the cameraman, in case you didn't hear him, said I should have put more new chips in. Maybe he's right. There is a little background smokiness, so I don't know whether that's quite worked. They are nicely cooked though. So I'm going to transfer these to a pan now and then start the next stage of the dish. So I've got some saffron here, and there's about 20-25 strands, so a reasonably good sized pinch, and that's going to go into some chicken stock. Been very naughty here, and I'm not using homemade chicken stock, but it is a nice organic chicken stock that I keep in the store cupboard. And in goes the saffron. Saffron is in the medieval recipe, which should give it a really lovely golden hue and give it some really nice flavour. The use of stock though is not in the original recipe, and I'm using it because I want to impart more flavour. What actually happens now is the chickpeas that you see here that are very close to finishing cooking, they're going to get cooked in this stock with the saffron. Now normally, according to the recipe, they're just cooked in water with olive oil, some garlic, As you can see here, I've got some slithers of garlic. The recipe actually says whole garlic, but I don't actually want to use whole garlic. And also some salt and some powder fort, which is a medieval spice mix. I'll tell you in a moment what goes into that. But that's got the stock going. I'm just going to check the chickpeas here. These are the smoked ones that were pre-smoked before they were cooked. Close to being cooked. So I've got the two sets of chickpeas here. The ones at the back are the ones that were smoked first and then cooked. The ones at the front were cooked first and then smoked. I've got the chicken stock here too, which has been infused with saffron. I tasted the smoked water in which these were cooked, and that's got a lot of smoky flavour left in it. So I'm actually going to reintroduce it back into the pan, into both pans. There's not loads of this left, but I'll put a ladle into each pan. In fact, I'll finish it off like that. And then I'm going to use some of this chicken stock with the saffron. I don't want to completely cover the chickpeas this time. I'm also going to be adding some olive oil. That's in both the Italian recipe, it suggests using either oil or lard. In the Chycches English recipe, there is also olive oil added to that. I've got some nice Tuscan olive oil here, extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put a tablespoon in to each one. That's typical of medieval recipes, particularly English ones. There are no measurements, so it's just about what you think might work. And also going into this are my slivers of garlic. So I'll put those in there and those in there. Next I need my spice, which is powder fort. What goes into powder fort is long pepper, black pepper, cloves and nutmeg. If you want the exact proportions, I have an Italian recipe that this is based on, and it's on the website. It's quite spicy because of the pepper in this. I'm going to put about, I think initially, half a teaspoon in each one. I think that's not too much. I can always add a bit more if I want a bit more of a kick. I'm going to bring these to a simmer. I've not put any salt in yet because the stock is quite salty. I'll add some extra salt if needed at the end. Just give it a good stir. I think they'll only need about 10 minutes. I just want to cook the garlic off really so that it's not too harsh, so that it's just a nice and mellow. It's partly why I decided to cut the garlic into pieces rather than use whole cloves. I thought it wouldn't take quite so long. The instructions are for this stage to simmer it again, so that's what I'm trying to do here. There's some nice smells coming off this. I'm just going to taste the broth part. Ooh, gosh, it's quite spicy. They actually need a little salt. So some salt going into those. And some salt into that one. I think what I'm going to do is just turn these right down and put the lids on for a while. I think I just want the chickpeas a tiny bit softer, so I think if by putting the lid on it might just soften them. So here's the best bit where I get to eat my experiments. I just need to say that when I was finishing off the two types of Chycches, I gave them a bit more chicken stock and I cooked them in total for about 15 minutes. So let's have a look at what they look like. This is the one that was smoked after being cooked. So there's a few chickpeas in there. I'm going to get some of the broth. Okay. I'm going to taste these first of all as they are, and then I'm going to add something and taste them again. It smells very nice. They do have a smokiness. It's not strong and not overpowering. Very pleasant. Lovely peppery kick from the powder fort. Possibly put a little bit too much in. The broth's lovely. Right, so that's that tasted. Now what I'm going to do is put some cheese on it. The Italian recipe that I spoke about earlier, that said you could use beaten egg and a little cheese, and then it's melted into the soup, as it were, into the chickpea dish. Well, I'm just going to add cheese. I'm not going to put egg in this. Some English vintage cheddar, which is not exactly medieval, but it's hard to know what medieval cheeses actually were like anyway in England, but they certainly had aged cheeses. Give that a good stir. Beautiful. That definitely takes it up to another level. Let me try the variety of Chycches, where the chickpeas were smoked before they were cooked. Now these smell smokier as soon as you take the lid off, actually, and they're a bit darker in colour. I think this probably does approximate the process in the English recipe, because I really do think that if you had chickpeas sitting for hours and hours and hours in embers overnight or for the whole day, that it would impart quite a smoky flavour to the chickpeas before you then went on to cook them. See what they taste like on their own first. They are significantly smokier, not massively so. They smell more smoky, I think, than they taste. You still get a really nice hint of smoke in those. What I like about the first one is that the texture's softer on the chickpeas. I wonder if the smoking actually makes it more difficult for the chickpeas then to soften. It probably does. But it's good. And the broth's pretty much the same, because it is the same. And I do like the garlic in both of them. It's just nice and mellow. They're like great big pieces of garlic, which they are, but they're not overtly garlicky because they've been mellowed down with the cooking. It's good. A bit of cheese. About the same amount. Give that a good stir. Let's see what we have here. Well, if heaven was a chickpea, if heaven was a bowl of chickpeas, that doesn't make sense, does it? But never mind. These are really good. To be honest, they're both really excellent. I think I like this one more between the two without the cheese, but once the cheese is added to both of them, they're both excellent. They're both better with cheese added. That one maybe just edges it, because the combination of smoke and cheddar cheese is just perfect for me. And this is definitely the smokiness is enhanced a little bit more in this one. Great stuff. I suppose I'll have another bite or two, and I really ought to let the cameraman have some too. Because he gets grumpy otherwise. In the end, after further development, I settled on cooking the chickpeas first and smoking them afterwards, using new wood chips, of course. My finalised recipe, with a spicy twist, is free on my Buy Me a Coffee page, so head on over there, where you'll also find lots of other delicious medieval to modern recipes. The link is given in the video description below.